What's been happening in the last few years is that most of the incidents, if you look at the last national election, there were incidents between the ANC and IFP and several deaths. And then since then, it's been pretty low-key in terms of sporadic killings of a few ANC people killed, of course the most recent a couple of weeks back, and also a number of killings involving the NFP, of course, which split away from the IFP, which appear to be inter-party between the NFP and the IFP, and intra-party within parties. And with the ANC killings, there have been of fairly prominent people, such as Wandile Mkhize, the spokesperson, the official in the Hibiscus municipality, Sbu Sibiya, who was a very prominent comrade from many years ago, who was allegedly speaking out against corruption, and before him another municipal councillor. And there are allegations of, particularly with Sbu Sibiya, that and the other councillor, that this was possibly an intra-ANC hit because of the stance that Sibiya, for example, had taken against corruption. And that's really the crux of the matter. Most of these struggles and killings, and there are a lot of tensions within parties, are about positions in parties, but they're also about people who take a stand against corruption.
And we saw that as well in the Northwest Province with the recently concluded case of Mos Phagwe, who also spoke out against corruption. Yeah,
indeed. Yeah, that's happened in other parts of the country too, and in Mpumalanga.
All right, let's find out from Mr. Mkhize. The alliance partners in KZN have discussed this matter. What is your conclusion?
Thanks, Xolani. Yes, indeed, we've discussed this matter as the alliance in KwaZulu-Natal and also as different partners of the alliance. In terms of these issues, there are a number of issues that we've looked at. For instance, whether it's true and it's correct that these killings are related to positions and corruption, or indeed are just killings of criminals hiding in our parties and things like that. But after a lengthy discussion, then we said we need a stronger and a deeper investigation on these matters. That's why, as the alliance in KwaZulu-Natal, we've asked the national minister to consider establishing the national task team to come down in KwaZulu-Natal and look at and look on these matters, not only to the ANC-related killings, but to all parties, because there are killings within. Also, the IFP is complaining that they've lost their members. The NFP also complained that they've lost their members. So it's something that we need to take a comprehensive approach in dealing with.
But again, I think people have, Mr. Mkhize, asked whether there is enough political will within the ANC in particular to deal with this matter. Look at the Sibiya matter. It happened when? A year or two ago, and we haven't heard of any convictions, any arrests, and we haven't heard anything in terms of progress in as far as that issue is concerned. But also, I mean, if you look at Mpumalanga, Bom Manjangase, who used to be our regular caller here on SAFM, was murdered, and it was all said about the same thing, that it revolved around his complaints about corruption. Nothing has happened.
Yes, Xolani, that's true, and also that is another concern for us. But I don't think people, they expect the ANC to do investigation and apprehend and arrest people. What we can do, and even our call as the alliance and also as the ANC, we've been asking our members to say whoever's got any information must come forward with that information, volunteer that information to the relevant law enforcement agencies to take the necessary step and the necessary action in order to arrest those people who are perpetrators. But we can't have a situation where the ANC will take an initiative and investigate and start arresting people. But we need to work with the relevant structures to do that.
Let me bring in Mr. Peterhouse, because I'm wondering, Mr. Peterhouse, whether or not the strategy of asking members to come forward with the information is actually a useful strategy, given the fact that people live in fear. You never know who's going to be next. So how am I supposed to spy on other people, Mr. Peterhouse?
But
I'm going to come back to you, Mr. Mkhize.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Peterhouse?
In many parts of the country, and this is particularly the case in parts of KwaZulu-Natal, people live in fear of politicians, of local party structures, of BECs, of ward committees, of ward councillors. And in many parts of the country, the local police do not operate as if their mandate is to, ensure that the law is implemented freely and fairly. What they often do is take instructions from local political elites. So I think it's very naive to suggest that people must simply come forward and the process will unfold automatically. The reality is that's not how things happen. And if we're going to take this seriously, we have to take full measure of what has actually happened to our institutions and how they actually function in reality, how they work in practice rather than in principle.
Mr. Aubrey Machikwe, in an article on Business Day earlier this week, spoke about this becoming, or the risk of this becoming an entrenched part of our political culture here, Mr. Peterhouse. I mean, that would be a tragedy, to say the least.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it would shatter all of our democratic aspirations, and it's not impossible. I mean, you look at a country like Colombia, you look at parts of India, this can happen. And, some journalists are putting the figures of the number of people who have been assassinated, the number of politicians, as high as 46 in post-apartheid South Africa. I mean, it would seem, are already on the way to it becoming an entrenched part of our political culture. And if you read it in the broader context of repression against independent grassroots political organization, you read it in the broader context of the militarization of the police, of the fact that torture is now endemic in the South African police services. You put it in the context of all of that violence, whether it be through the states or through party structures, the situation is clearly already very serious.
And Mary, you were quoted in one article as saying that in KZN, for instance, there's so much tension that people are worried about their safety, especially if they speak out against corruption, yet the ANC in that province is calling on people to speak out. Can that happen?
No, it definitely can't, particularly with the state of policing in this province. In some of these cases, the police have behaved very badly, including in the case of Sbu Sibiya, and we have a huge problem with policing in this province, particularly, with policing generally. Richard's absolutely correct in what he said about the problem of militarization, of torture, and you have comrades, for example, in Pietermaritzburg who are alleging that they're speaking out against corruption, and yet the very people they say are corrupt are using the police against them to assault them, to bring trumped-up charges against them. And these are the people, the ones who are speaking out against corruption, who a few years ago were being targeted by the local IFP people, and now they're alleged that their own comrades are targeting them. And that the police, that's the other problem you see. In KZN, we have a history of politicized policing, and what may be happening now is that we may, in some areas, if locals are correct, and there's quite a bit of evidence to show that the police are siding with particular councillors, for example, or particular politicians, whereas what we need, of course, is an apolitical policing, and we have no apolitical policing in this province. And the call to get to get a national team is a very valid one, I think, provided that it is carefully selected. Policing is just the absolute is in a dreadful state in this province. It's just got worse and worse and worse over the past few years. So it would be very unrealistic to expect people to come forward with information, because there's also a history here of people with information dying mysteriously.
And that's that then, Mr. Mkhize, that you can't realistically expect people to raise their voices, having seen what is happening in the province and other provinces as well.
Olane, that is a wrong assumption, because the information that we've forwarded to police so far, I think it's information that police can use to apprehend, especially those who were involved in the killing of Comrade Sbu Sibiya and Comrade Mshibe. And also that's why, as the Alliance, we thought that the information that has been forwarded to the police, then we thought we needed a national task team. Then if people, because people, they are coming forward with information, I can assure you, Xolani, with that, unfortunately, I can't divulge what kind of information that they are giving.
But if
it's
they
not,
are, then why are there no
true.
Convictions? If they are coming up with...
That's the issue that we need that we've raised a number of occasions with the nation, the provincial commissioner in the province, to say, now we've forwarded information, people have volunteered information, then what is happening?
Okay.
So that's why we thought, if we get a national task team, then with the information in our disposal, then we can see some progress on these matters.
But that means that you agree, though, with Mary, that perhaps there's a problem with policing in the province itself, that they may be involved in one way or the other, the police that are supposed to be investigating these crimes.
We can't say that if there's information that suggests that maybe Mary is the right person because maybe she's got that information, but also as the ANC, we've raised this issue that we are not happy with the way the police, they are handling these matters, because people are coming forward with information but we don't see any progress. We even said not only political related killing, we even said even the taxi related killings, because in our understanding, we think that all of these killings, they use they utilize the reservoir of contracted killers. So we said this task team must come and do a comprehensive and thorough investigation. And we are not saying it's the only solution to this problem. Hence, also we have said there is also a multi-part task team that is going around trying to talk to people. Then we also appreciate if other people they can make some suggestions. Then we are not saying as the ANC we've got all the solutions, but what we are saying, this is what we are doing, this is what we are suggesting to address the situation.
Colonel Naicker, what are your thoughts?
Okay, no, I just wanted to, I think the comment that, the way it stated that the SAPS is ineffective in investigating these political killings, we don't agree with that. In KZN, we have our best detectives that are based at provincial level investigating these cases. At this stage, we're looking at 21 political cases that are 28 cases that are currently under investigation. We've already effected arrests in 18 of these cases, and the other cases are ongoing. We have strong leads. As I indicated, that we have our best detectives. They are based at provincial level, also being assisted by detectives from the national office. And I think we have a good command of the investigation at this stage.
I suppose people are saying whatever they're saying then on the basis of some of the high-profile matters like Sibiya, for instance, and some of the names that have been bandied about and no one has been arrested.
Specifically on the Sibiya matter, I'll tell you now.
Sibiya, of course, who was the regional secretary of the ANC in the eThekwini region, gunned down outside his house in Enanda. And just obviously a week or two ago, we heard of one Mkhize in the area of the Hibiscus Coast municipality. He was an ANC councillor there.
Yes.
Also, Wandile Mkhize killed.
Well, I could go into details. Like, for instance, the Sibiya case, suspects have been arrested. The case is set down for trial in the Durban High Court for the 11th month of this year.